Hey YouTube, it's Adam from I'm a Music Mogul, and welcome to another remake video. Today we'll be remaking X Calling by 6lack. Now this song is pretty interesting because this song was originally a feature song. It came off of the Purple Rain project, and that track was called Perky's Calling. And I guess 6lack took it from there. But really on Perky's Calling, Future's producers sampled Threnody by Goldman. So they took the piano chords from that song and put it into Perky's Calling, which then 6lack took that track and made his own and called it X Calling. Yeah! For that brief history, now you know where that song came from and who was on the track. Let's get to recreating this one right here. So we got our tempo set to 156 beats per minute. We're going to start off with that piano, the 3-chord piano vibe with a 4-bar region. We're going to be using Logic's piano stock sound, the Yamaha Grand Piano. And let's go ahead and draw in those chords. So for this top note right here, we're just going to offset it a little bit to kind of match the sort of play style in X Calling. So that top note gets a little bit delayed when the chord hits. Let's go ahead and offset this top note once again to match the mimic style or the play style. And finally for the last chord, for this one, we're just going to offset the top 2 notes. Just going to make it a little tighter there. And this one I'm also going to make a little tighter at the beginning here. So there's our chords right there. Fairly simple, and they get repeated throughout the entire track. So let's get those sounding like the ones in the track itself. First, let's go ahead and add in a bit crusher. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and add, because I have it right here, let's go ahead and bring in Isotope's vinyl. It's going off my screen here, and what's going to happen here is give it a nice gritty effect. So in the track, the piano was sort of pitched a little bit, so I'm going to add some warp depth to this sort of vinyl, if you will. It kind of changes the pitch as the chord plays out, but we're going to do a minimal sort of effect here. We're going to bring in some noise. And then we're going to bring in some dust as well to kind of get that authentic old school vibe. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add in a bit crusher. push up the resolution to 14 bits. We're going to get this piano to sound a little bit more gritty like the one in the track. We're going to push up the drive to about 10 dBs. And for our EQ, we're just going to cut off a little bit of the top end. And maybe a little bit of that hum at the low end. Maybe we'll boost up a little bit in this 500 range. And at 2K. It just gives it that dark feel to it. And that's pretty much our pianos right there. I'm going to go ahead and just temporarily disable that so we don't have that noise throughout the entire video. And let's go ahead and get to our 808s. So let's create a new software instrument track. And we'll be using Logic's ES2 synthesizer. And of course, we'll be using that 808 preset that I love to use. Let's go ahead and just close this, give us more space. We're going to create ourselves another 4-bar region. And let's go ahead and draw on those 808s. I know you guys love when I say this. Let's go to a nice low octave. And from here, we're going to go up. All right, that sounds good just like that. Let's go ahead and make this sound more like the one in the track itself. Let's go ahead and bring in some distortion. Widen a little bit of drive. This kick to be so clicky, so let's go ahead and bring up the attack, get it a little softer entry point. Let's bring that down the sustain a little bit, it's a little going too long. So that's pretty much our 808 right there. Now let's get to the drums. All right, so let's go ahead and close this. And we're going to bring in Logic's EXS24 sampler instrument. And for this tutorial, I already created a nice drum kit. Here it is right here, the 6-lac X calling drum kit. And let's go ahead and start off with our kick. The kick is fairly easy. Actually, what I'm going to do here is just copy down our 808. It's pretty much the same pattern, just of course on a kick. Let's bring that down to here. And I believe the octave was up here. So here's our kick. Let's go ahead and duplicate this track. And let's go ahead and bring in our clap. I'm going to create a 4-bar region. And let's go ahead and find our clap here. our open hat. So we're going to call this open hat. As you can see, the drum pattern it's a fairly simple one. I was going to use these right here. So there's my open hat. Next, let's go ahead and bring in our hi-hat. Let's go ahead and duplicate that, put in hi-hat. Create another region here, except our hi-hat is, when I listened back to it, it sounded like there's an 8-bar hi-hat pattern. So let's go ahead and just duplicate that, just like that. And draw in this hi-hat pattern. And just find where it is in my drum kit. There it is right there. Alright, so let's move on to the next 8 bars. And it's pretty much the same thing, just the end part changes up. Let's take out this one right here. Alright, so that's pretty much our hi-hat pattern. So finally, let's go ahead and bring in that snare. And that really brings out this pattern nicely. So let's go ahead and draw in another 8-bar pattern, because that's what our snare is. So for our next 4 bars, let's go ahead and work on that. Just gonna cycle this one so I don't get confused. Alright, so there's a snare pattern right there. Sorry, that took a little longer than expected. Sometimes I should just play it rather than draw it in, but I want to draw it in so you guys see where the notes are going. So here's our snare pattern. So that's pretty much the beat right there. If I go ahead and turn on the piano, or that effect here with the mechanical noise and the warp depth. You have pretty much the song X Calling by 6lack. Let's go ahead and arrange this quickly. But when I arrange it here, I'm gonna actually use the piano from the actual track, because I know some of you guys like to use this for your own mixtapes and such. So here is the actual sampled piano from the track. We're not going to use the one that we used here because using Logic stock sound, sometimes you don't get the exact piano sound, and with piano you have to have good samples to get a good piano track, if you will. So I'm going to use the sampled one from the track, but you could always use the bundled Logic ones as well, as you saw here. So let's go ahead and start arranging this. So I think this goes 4 bars. Let's move this over. I think the 808s come in on the ladder. I'm going to go ahead and play as I arrange here. Sorry guys, that was my kick. That's how you make X Calling by 6lack in Logic Pro X. For your Logic users out there, I am going to go ahead and save this entire session for you guys, so you can find that as a downloadable link in the description box below. For you non-Logic users out there, I always got your back. I'm going to go ahead and export all these MIDI stems right here. I'm going to include all the samples that you heard in this track, so you could pretty much import the MIDI stems and the samples, and you got yourself your own remake of X Calling by 6lack that you could use for, I don't know, your mixtapes or what have you. If you do have any questions on this, you can ask me in the comment section below. For more good videos like this one, remember to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Talk to you all soon. Later. Peace.